No Amish farmer published a pest control guide. No technique was patented or bottled for sale. The knowledge passed from grandmother to daughter, from father to son, through daily work in the garden across every growing season for 300 years. Most of it has never appeared in any gardening magazine. Companion planting. Marigolds planted alongside tomatoes release compounds through their roots that repel nematodes underground and deter aphids above ground. Basil planted near tomatoes produces volatile oils that repel thrips and whiteflies from the same plants it grows beside. Horseradish near potatoes deters the Colorado potato beetle, one of the most destructive insects in any North American vegetable garden. Nasturtiums planted at garden edges act as trap crops, drawing aphids away from vegetables entirely. Each pairing has a documented mechanism. None of it is folklore. Through the bed. Some Amish gardeners add sunflowers as a fourth element along the perimeter, attracting pest-consuming birds to the border, causing them to dehydrate and die. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is certified organic, leaves no time without any additional labor beyond moving the coop from one position to the next. Crop rotation. Most garden pests are host-specific. The Colorado potato beetle targets potatoes. Tomato hornworm targets tomatoes and related nightshades. Cabbage worms target brassicas. Each of these pests overwinters in the soil beneath the plant it fed on through the growing season, positioned to emerge the following spring and find the same host immediately available. Crop rotation removes that host. When tomatoes are moved to a different bed, the pest that overwintered in the old bed emerges in spring to find beans, a plant it cannot feed on. It starves, or it moves, or it fails to reproduce at the scale it would have otherwise. After 3 to 4 years of consistent rotation through 4 bed zones, heavy feeders, light feeders, legumes, and root crops, soil-borne pest populations drop to levels that cause no meaningful crop damage. No chemical is applied. The calendar itself becomes the pest control mechanism, attracting the right insects. A single ladybug consumes up to 50 aphids per day. A lacewing larva can consume 200 aphids in a single week. A parasitic wasp lays its eggs inside caterpillar larvae, eliminating the pest before it ever reaches the plant. These insects are not purchased or imported. They are already present in the landscape around any garden, waiting for habitat that gives them a reason to stay. Amish gardeners plant dill, fennel, yarrow, and flowering herbs along garden borders, specifically to provide nectar sources and shelter for beneficial predatory insects. The result is a permanent pest control workforce that operates continuously throughout the growing season without any input from the gardener. The investment is a border of flowering herbs. The return is a self-sustaining population of insects consuming the pests that would otherwise require a spray, a purchase, or a deliberate intervention every time they appeared. Building ideal soil. Pest insects do not select their host plants randomly. They identify weak plants through chemical signals, volatile compounds released by plants under stress from nutrient deficiency, drought, or soil imbalance. A plant growing in biologically active, nutrient-dense soil produces a different chemical profile than a plant struggling in depleted ground. The struggling plant signals its weakness. The healthy plant does not. Amish gardens are built on continuous additions of composted animal manure, wood ash from household stoves, crushed organic matter, and cover crops turned into the soil between growing seasons. The microbial activity that results from this input produces plants with dense, strong cell walls that soft-bodied insects physically struggle to penetrate. The pest pressure does not disappear entirely. No garden achieves that. But it remains at a level the garden can absorb without significant crop loss, season after season, without any reactive treatment ever applied. Wood ash as a pest deterrent. Every Amish household burns wood. The ash that accumulates in stoves and fireplaces through the winter is not discarded. It is collected, stored dry, and carried to the garden in spring as one of the most versatile materials an Amish gardener uses throughout the growing season. Wood ash serves multiple functions in the garden simultaneously. and its pest control application is the one most consistently overlooked by modern gardeners who have encountered it only as a soil amendment. Sprinkled in a dry ring around the base of vulnerable plants, wood ash creates a barrier that slugs, snails, and soft-bodied crawling insects will not cross. The fine alkaline particles absorb moisture from soft tissue on contact, producing a desiccating effect similar to diatomaceous earth, but derived from a material the household was already producing as a byproduct of heating the home. The barrier must be reapplied after rain ash dissolves and washes into the soil when wet, but in dry conditions, it holds and remains effective for days at a time. Beyond the physical barrier, wood ash worked into the soil provides potassium and calcium in forms that plants absorb readily. Potassium strengthens the vascular system of the plant, improving its ability to move water and nutrients efficiently under stress. A plant with strong potassium levels maintains its defensive chemistry more effectively under pest pressure than a potassium-deficient plant growing in depleted ground. The Amish do not separate these functions. The same ash that deters the slug above the soil is feeding the plant below it at the same time. Nothing is applied for a single purpose. Every input serves the whole system, and the ash that came from last winter's fire is already in the soil preparing the plant that will face next summer's pests. The raised bed advantage. Amish gardeners build raised beds from untreated lumber, stone, or stacked soil containing growing areas elevated above the surrounding ground level by 8 to 12 inches. The decision to grow in raised beds rather than flat ground rows is not primarily aesthetic. It is structural pest management built into the physical design of the garden itself. Raised beds drain faster than flat ground, which means the soil surface dries more quickly after rain. Slugs, snails, fungus gnats, and a range of soil-dwelling pest larvae depend on consistently moist surface conditions to move, feed, and reproduce. A soil surface that dries within hours of rain provides a hostile environment for the entire category of moisture-dependent pests without any spray, barrier, or treatment applied. The elevation also creates a physical obstacle for crawling pests moving in from surrounding areas. A slug traveling across dry ground to reach a raised bed must climb a vertical wall, a journey that costs it moisture the entire way. Combined with a ring of diatomaceous earth or wood ash applied to the exterior of the bed frame, the raised structure becomes a fortified perimeter that most crawling pests never breach. Inside the raised bed, the soil is entirely under the gardener's control. There is no compaction from foot traffic, no intrusion of surrounding soil chemistry, and no carryover of pest populations from adjacent ground that was never managed. Amish gardeners fill raised beds with their own composted manure and organic matter, building the exact soil profile that produces strong, pest-resistant plants from the first season. The bed holds that profile season after season with only the addition of fresh compost each spring. The design of the bed and the quality of what fills it work together as a single pest management decision made once before any seed goes in the ground. Neem oil. Neem oil is pressed from the seeds of the neem tree, a plant used in traditional agriculture across South Asia and Africa for centuries before it entered mainstream organic gardening. Amish communities in contact with broader organic farming networks began incorporating neem oil into their pest management practices as it became available through farm supply channels, recognizing in it the same principle their existing techniques already operated on: disrupting pest biology without introducing chemical toxicity into the garden. Neem oil works differently from every other pest control substance in common use. It does not kill insects on contact in most applications. Instead, it interferes with the hormonal systems that regulate insect growth and reproduction. Insects that ingest or absorb neem oil lose the ability to molt properly, fail to develop through larval stages, and produce fewer viable eggs. The pest population does not drop immediately, but it collapses over the course of a generation because reproduction has been chemically interrupted at the source. Applied as a foliar spray, neem oil diluted in water with a small amount of liquid Castile soap. As an emulsifier, it coats plant surfaces and remains active for several days before breaking down in sunlight. It is effective against aphids, whiteflies, spider mites, thrips, and fungus gnats, while leaving beneficial insects largely unaffected when applied in the evening after pollinators have finished working the garden for the day. The Castile soap in the mixture serves a secondary function, suffocating soft-bodied insects on direct contact before the neem compound takes effect systemically. Amish gardeners who use it apply it on a preventative schedule rather than in reaction to visible infestation, which is consistent with how every other technique in their system operates. The pest does not arrive to a healthy garden and find a solution waiting. It arrives and finds the garden was already prepared. Every technique described in this video requires nothing that cannot be produced on the property where it is applied. Garlic and hot peppers grow in the garden. Eggshells come from the kitchen. Diatomaceous earth is mined from natural lakebed deposits and available for a few dollars per bag at any farm supply store. Chickens are already part of the Amish farm. Marigolds and companion plants grow in the same beds as the vegetables they protect. The beneficial insects that consume aphids and larvae are present in every landscape that provides them habitat. The soil that resists pest pressure is built from animal manure and kitchen compost that would otherwise be discarded. None of this was designed as a pest control system. It was designed as a way of living a complete approach to the garden in which every element supports every other element and nothing is wasted.